What is up, guys? Welcome back to the channel. I'm on 15 days now without the MIT 45 extract. Some somewhat good news. I actually slept last night. So my sleep, I think at this point, is somewhat back to normal without the MIT 45 extract. It was touch and go there for probably a good 10 to 12 days. No matter how much kratom powder I was taking, which I was never taking any more than about 13 grams in a given day. I just have this switch in my brain where I just can't bring myself to swallow 25, 30, 40 capsules in one day. If that just seems, I understand it's, not nearly as strong. It's not like swallowing, 30 Percocet in one day. I get that. It's quite different. But I don't know. I just have this mental space where my mind and my body just won't let me go there. I just can't see stuffing 30 gelatin caps in my mouth in one day. So really, I was never taking any more than about 13, 14 grams of kratom powder via the capsules per day when I came off of the MIT 45. And even with taking that amount, I was not able to sleep. I didn't sleep worth a damn, probably for a good 10 days. I would say around that 10, 11, 12-ish day mark, it kind of started to let up a little bit, and I finally started getting a little more sleep. And I talked about the fact that as of last Friday, I had been tapering pretty aggressively and had cut myself down to roughly about 9 grams of the kratom powder per day. And I was still struggling at night with that. And I was still having, some uneasiness in the chest, a little bit of restless legs. And I know those withdrawal symptoms all too well. So that's definitely what it was. And then in my last video, I talked about how this weekend, although I didn't take the extracts, I messed around and went to a kava bar, kava/kratom bar on Saturday and Sunday, and did have like some kava drink, or not kava, I'm sorry, kratom drinks. And so I'm not exactly sure how much kratom I had that day, or either Saturday or Sunday, but I will say I slept very well on Saturday night and Sunday night. So I could only assume that the reason I started sleeping better is because I had upped my dosage of kratom. And so what I did last night is I took it back up to a strong 13 grams, which the capsules that I take are about 674 milligrams per capsule. So that's less than a gram. So in case you didn't know, 1,000 milligrams equals a gram. So 674 milligrams is less than a gram. So if you add that up, and I know it seems like a lot, but to equal about 13 grams of kratom powder, you're going to have to probably take about 19 to 20 of those, regular 674 milligram capsules in one day. To some people, depending on what kind of user you are, to some people that may seem like a lot. Actually seems like a lot to me, because like I said, I've never been a person to just stuff a bunch of those capsules in my mouth. But if you look online, you see there's a lot of people taking in excess of 25, 30, 35 milligrams. I've seen people taking up to 50 up to 50 grams of kratom per day. And I mean, to me, that's just astronomical. That's over 4 times what I'm taking. But the point I want to make is this. If you're coming off of the MIT 45s, especially if you're taking a couple of those per day, 1.5, 2, 2.5 of the MITs per day, when you come off of that, you're going to go through some withdrawal. And from what I've experienced, you're going to have to ingest, I would say, anywhere from 20, probably at least 20, let me take that back. You're probably going to have to ingest at least probably 15 grams of kratom powder in a given day to even come close to equaling the kratom alkaloid that you're getting from the MITs. Otherwise, you're going to go through some withdrawals. And if you're a person that you're not in a situation in your life where you can handle the withdrawals, you really need to get your sleep, you've got a lot of responsibility, not only at home, but at work and things like that. And that's the case with me. I can't let up, man. I got a 16-year-old son who's in high school. My wife and I both work full time. I have a lot of responsibility at my job. I make a good professional salary. So it's one of those things where I have to be on point every day. I can't be going through some sort of cold turkey withdrawal, and I can't cut my dosage down so much that I'm just miserable every day and that I'm not sleeping at night. So what I did last night, I bumped my kratom powder use back up to about 13 grams. So I swallowed about 19 capsules yesterday in all. Of course, I didn't do all that at one time. 4 here, 6 there, another 4 at lunch. I did that. Wait a couple hours, take 3 more. I did that sort of thing. And I slept well last night. Now, I had to get up and urinate a lot, but that's because I drink, 70, 80 ounces of water every day, plus coffee, plus I took a multivitamin yesterday, then I drank coffee in the evening, and all of those things are diuretics, and they cause you to frequently urinate. And not to mention, the kratom will actually cause you to urinate more because your body is looking to expel that kratom from your body, and it does that in the form of what? Liquid urine. So it's kind of a catch-22. You're going to need to take some more, a decent amount of kratom powder. If you're coming off of the MIT 45s, you're going to need to take a decent amount of the kratom powder in order to avoid, any serious withdrawals. But at the same time, the more kratom powder you take, the more kratom powder you take to try to sleep through the night, the more you're probably going to have to urinate during the night. And that was me last night. I was sleeping nice and soundly with, a nice cushion of 13 grams of kratom powder for the day. I was sleeping nice and soundly after 2 weeks of coming off of the MIT, but I was up probably 5-6 times in the night having to urinate. Annoying as hell, man. Today I'm trying to do a little less in terms of my water intake. I'm not going to take a multivitamin today. That should help with the frequent urination, some at least, that I've been experiencing at night. And this may not be a problem for some of you guys. I'm a little bit older. I'm a 46-year-old guy. I'll be 47 my next birthday. So, for me, it could be an aging prostate. I might just be getting old, and how old people have to get up and piss all the time during the night. That could be me. I don't know, for sure. I mean, I stay in shape and I'm very healthy for, I think at least for a 46-year-old guy, but I'm still 46, so it could be an aging prostate a little bit for me. The fact that I have to, the fact that I'm actually having to get up so much and urinate, but yeah. So I had a kind of talked to a guy yesterday a little bit who was telling me he also had some struggles with the MIT. I hope he doesn't mind. There's not a lot of people watching my videos at this point. I just made these videos public yesterday. Literally, just made them public. And I won't mention his name, but he left a comment, saying, hey, dude, I get it, man. I'm struggling as well with the MITs, and he didn't go way in depth about it, but I figure, in light of the fact that he did leave a message on my, or he did leave a comment on my very public YouTube video now, I figure he probably wouldn't mind if I at least referenced his comment in my conversation with him on my video. So, he was saying he's been taking the MITs for around 6 months or so, which is it's long enough to get hooked, but it's not as long as I was taking them. I was taking them on and off for probably a good year, close to a year and a half, before I really decided to come off of them. But he was saying at one point he had attempted to come off of them, just taking the powder. And apparently, he didn't say this specifically, but my assumption from what he was saying, because he was kind of speaking in past tense. My assumption was that he tried, but he failed to come off of them, and he's still on the MITs. And I just want to say to you, my dude, I want to give you some advice on maybe how you can come off the MITs and stay off of them. So, you know, and he referenced too, and this is something I've also referenced in my previous videos, like, you know, of course they're unhealthy and you want to break the addiction, and that's kind of first and foremost when it comes to why you really want to come off of the MITs. But let's get real, man. You know, a lot of it is the way it is, the amount of money that you spend on them. You know, these guys who are making these extracts realize that they've got an ace up their sleeve. They know they're getting people hooked on these things, and man, they're charging an ungodly amount. I mean, you can pay, depending on where you live and the particular head shop you go to, you can pay up to 20 bucks for one of those things. I've seen them for up to 20 bucks. I don't buy them for that, because I knew somewhere anyway that was significantly cheaper. But you know, bottom dollar, you're paying 15 bucks for one of these, you know, and you'd be lucky if that thing lasts you for one day. And if you're not a person who's able to pace yourself when it comes, you could be, you know, taking in 1.5, 2. I've heard people taking up to 3 of those a day. 15 bucks times 2, that's 30 bucks. 15 bucks times 3, that's 45 bucks plus tax. I mean, you could be spending 30, 40, 50 bucks a day just on MITs. And, you know, the gentleman I'm talking about who, you know, commented on my video yesterday mentioned the same thing. It's killing my pocket, man. It's killing my pocket. I agree with you. I've been there, you know, and I've talked about the fact that it's probably a trigger for me that I feel pretty fortunate, because my wife and I both make good money. We have a good yearly household income. So it's one of those things where I was able to kind of maintain the habit and still pay bills, and, you know, still even do some extra things. So although I did cringe at times when I started really conceiving of how much I was spending on those MITs in a given month, especially when I was in my heaviest use of them. But let's get real. The monetary aspect of it is a big thing, you know, and if you're going broke taking them, then, you know, in a lot of ways that kind of supersedes and comes before the health aspect of it and the addiction aspect of it. And I'd say the biggest thing is, you know, even if you have to continue still taking Kratom via the Kratom powder, which is significantly cheaper. When I buy a thing of the 100 cap Kratom powder, that one of those, and my wife will take, you know, she doesn't take nearly as many as I do. She's not hooked on the Kratom. You know, she'll take, you know, 1 a day or 2 every couple of days, or just sometimes she'll go days and not take them at all. So she might take about 10 maybe total out of the 100 cap bottle that I get. And that bottle will still last me roughly about a week, about 7 days. And so, you know, when I was in active user of the MIT 45s, I was taking up to, you know, 2 of those a day, 1.5, 2 of those a day, which you're talking with tax, come on, man, 35 bucks per day that I was spending on MITs. And with the capsules, I'm paying 30 bucks for 100 caps, and that lasts me a week. So let's do the math here. MIT 45s, 35 bucks per day, or capsules, 35 bucks per week. 35 bucks per day or 35 bucks per week. Just do the math, man. You know, you don't have to be a mathematical genius or an Einstein to see that you're getting out a lot cheaper with the capsules. So if you really want to come off the MIT 45s, get the capsules. You know, I hate to suggest to someone, you know, to take a whole bunch of the capsules to to try to get to an equal amount of the alkaloid that you were taking with the MIT 45s. I know that's somewhat risky, that's somewhat dangerous, but it's also one of those things where Kratom, I think, in my opinion, if you're an otherwise healthy person, if you're drinking water, you eat somewhat healthy, you try to exercise a little bit at the same time, and you're not taking, 5, 10, 15 other doctor prescribed medications that are bad for you, and you're not a smoker, and you're not doing all these other negative things. For me, the only thing I really do is Kratom. That's it. I don't really do anything else. I maybe drink once a week, and that'll be on a Saturday night when I'm watching like a UFC at the house or something. I'll have a few drinks with my wife, because it's kind of something we do when we get in our hot tub. I have a few drinks. Marijuana, very little marijuana, and it's always on the weekend when I do it. I'll have a little bit on Saturday. I'll hit the bowl a few times on Saturday, maybe sometimes on Sunday I'll hit it once or twice, and then that's it. For the whole rest of the week, I'm not smoking any marijuana. The only thing that I do daily, on a daily basis, is the Kratom. So I have this theory, if you're a somewhat healthy person and you're not just pounding your system with all kinds of other drugs and chemicals on a daily basis, then I don't think, taking 13, 15 grams of Kratom per day is that bad. It's a plant, it's natural, I think you can get by with it. Now, obviously, the hope is that you're not doing that long term, and that is the hope, that you get off the MITs, replace it with some Kratom powder so that you're not experiencing horrible withdrawals, and you're saving yourself some money. You're not going broke trying to buy the things. And then from there, once you get to a point where you're able to sleep well and stuff like that with 13, 14, 15 grams of Kratom powder per day, then you start to edge back on the Kratom powder, slowly but surely, maybe a gram per week, start to edge back a little bit. And it's going to take you 3 months. It's going to take you 4 months, and that's okay. It's better than continuing to stay on the MITs and spending every bit of your paycheck on getting these things when you know that they've got you hooked, and just staying locked into that really expensive habit and addiction. And again, it's not all about the money. There's a more serious issue here, and it has to do with our mental health. It has to do with the addiction, our physical and mental health, and that is number one. But in the interim, as you're starting to taper down and come off of Kratom altogether, in the interim, get yourself off of the MIT and stop spending so much freaking money on it. It's crazy, man. It is asinine the amount of money that you can spend on those things in a given month. And the makers of it know that. They know they've got an ace up their sleeve. They know that this stuff is highly addictive. They know that the amount of Kratom alkaloid in those things is equal to probably swallowing 20 of the capsules. Like, they know that. And what it does is they're so strong and so highly addictive that once people start taking those, they'll eventually get to a point like, damn, this is too expensive. I need to come off of these. And then they try to come off of them and try to go and take a little Kratom powder, and then they're going through withdrawals because they don't know how much Kratom powder they need to take to equal the Kratom alkaloid that they were getting in the MITs. Well, that's why I'm here. And I've done a little, I'm not going to say research, but I've done a little real life trials. And, I think I've got it roughly within a few grams of it to come off the MITs and get onto the Kratom powder and save your pocketbook a little bit and save your bank account a little bit, to not have any significant withdrawals and still be able to sleep at night and all that. You're probably going to have to take 15, maybe 16, possibly 17 grams of Kratom powder when you're coming off of doing like 1 or 2 MITs per day. You can try it out one night, see how it feels. You may not have been taking as many MITs as I was, or for as long. So your system may not be quite as dependent upon it, and your system may bounce back a little quicker than mine did. Start out with 11 grams, 12 grams of the kratom powder. If you get halfway through the night and you start experiencing that, those discomforts of withdrawal and stuff like that, get up, take you 3 more capsules, take 4 more capsules, try to help yourself sleep through the night. Take a couple of nights to get yourself at a baseline to figure out how much powder you can take to where you're not experiencing withdrawals from coming off of the MIT. And then just keep it there. Once you find what that sweet spot is, if it's 14 grams, stay at 14 grams for a good week and a half. Once everything kind of levels out and you're kind of just used to taking just the 14 grams of kratom powder every day, start on a Monday and cut yourself down to 13 grams. And then let that ride for about a week and a half. Then cut yourself down to 12 grams, 12 and a half grams, whatever it is you're going to do. Make yourself a regimen and pay attention to how you feel on however many grams you're taking. And for the love of God, know how many grams you're taking. And that's something where I messed up this past weekend. I went to that kratom bar. The bartender wasn't able to tell me how much kratom they're putting in the drinks. So I had taken a couple of my own capsules earlier that morning, but then when they gave me the kratom drinks, I didn't have a freaking clue how much kratom I was actually taking. I was, just sitting there at the bar with my wife, just enjoying the kratom drink, and no clue how much kratom I was taking. And so, for the love of God, don't do that. To get it, control it. Buy yourself. Get off of the MIT, stop buying the MITs, but don't just stop buying it and, be gung-ho about, oh, I'm just going to quit. I'm just going to quit cold turkey. I can do it. No. You have to be a really strong person and in a particular lackadaisical point of your life to be able to do that. If you have any responsibility whatsoever in your life like I do, don't do cold turkey. You'll just end up relapsing. Come off the MIT. Instead of buying an MIT, go to the store, get yourself some kratom capsules. I prefer the green strain because it's kind of somewhere in between the red. The red scares me. It's a little bit too strong. The white is a little bit too much of a stimulant. So I get green. It's got a little bit of both. Gives you kind of some energy, kind of gives you some euphoria too at the same time. Get yourself a green strain of the capsules. Start taking 14, 15 milligrams of it on that first day that you're not taking the MIT 45. Take 14, 15 milligrams of the kratom powder. See what it does for you that first night. If you need to get up in the middle of the night, take more, do that. And find out what works. And then from there, just start chopping it down. $35 a week on some kratom powder is much better than $35 a day on MIT 45s. Not everybody can afford that shit, man. And my wife and I have a household income of over 140 grand a year. We have a household income of almost 150 grand a year at this point. And the MITs were even hurting my bank account. We make good money. And I live in North Carolina, so 150 grand a year in North Carolina, we're doing pretty well. We're not hurting for anything. But I was buying, those MITs are so expensive that in the height of my addiction to them, we were starting to see our account deplete to the point where a couple of times we had to move money out of our savings into our checking to make sure that we could make it through to the pay period. Luckily, we have a bunch of money in our savings account because we're, for the most part, outside of the MITs, we tend to be smart with our money. We're rather frugal. But so we were never hurting and not able to pay our bills, but I could definitely see the account depleting like very rapidly from taking those MITs. So save yourself the financial strain, man. Get off of those things, get on the kratom powder, and then get yourself on a regimen so that you can start tapering down off of those. Or don't taper down of it. You may not want to stop taking the kratom. You may just want to go back on the kratom powder, and if you're one of those people, that's fine. I'm not you know, we got people out there that were former heroin addicts, former, you know, Percocet, Vicodin, you know, Dilaudid, morphine. I mean, there's people out there done all kinds of plethora of opiates, stronger opiates than Kratom. So I'm not going to sit and tell somebody, you know, come off Kratom, don't do Kratom. I'm not that guy. I am trying to taper off of it because for me, I just, you know, I just don't like being dependent upon something. So I'm trying to eventually just taper off of it, which is why I've gone down to just the powder at this point. But if you're on the MIT 45s and you want to come off of the powder, I'm sorry, you want to come off of the MIT 45s because they're too expensive or they're causing you some, you know, negative consequences in terms of your health and, you know, side effects or whatever it is, do that. You can do it, you know, and follow the plan that I've put forth. You know, hopefully this helps somebody. Hopefully you can kind of clean it up and, let me know in the comments, you know, if you've tried it. Let me know what you have tried. You know, let me know what your previous experiences are with opiates. And let's talk about this thing, man. It helps to talk about it. It helps to know that you're not the only one struggling with it. And it also helps to hear someone else's perception and someone else's plan that they've implemented in coming off of it. And you know, I'm in process of doing that. So if my story can help anyone else, then I'm glad about that. I'm happy about that. So anyway, drop a comment, drop a like, subscribe to the channel. I'm gonna keep doing this, and I would love to hear your guys' story as well about present and past opiate addictions. All right, guys, stay fresh out there, and I will talk to you soon. Peace.